So good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Thank you.
So welcome to a brand new type of session. We've never done this before, but I think it's also crucial for our community to get an understanding not only what artificial intelligence is. I think most of you in the room here will have a basic understanding of what it is and also how it works. But what we want to bring into the session is maybe not a full-blown concept, but some first ideas of steps to take to start your journey into working with your own data and your AI. And what is the better way then to do this by using your own example and your own models, and then try to understand how we did it, what worked, what did not work, what mistakes did we make. So this is the joint journey for this next 50 minutes or so that we're embarking together here in this panel. We have three people who really work on the practical sides of implementing AI-based solutions, and we will have first a round of presentations and then also an in-depth discussion. We have only structured this roughly for a purpose because we really want also to give you an idea how we discuss things. I think this also helps you understand the journey that you would embark if you start working with your data and on an artificial intelligence-based project. We will also tell you about understanding, do we have this data or access to data that makes it worthwhile to start this journey. So we really try to give you all the principles and basics and fundamentals of working and starting your own AI-based projects and making this work for your organization. Here with me to discuss these models are sitting right next to me is Ioana Tanase, representing Microsoft, who is a close partner with us on working on our own AI. Microsoft is funding big chunks of the artificial intelligence work that we do as the Essl Foundation, but Ioana is much more than that. She's a real consultant. She has this whole background of also the global developments of all the security issues that we have to consider, all the participation aspects, all the accessibility features. So she's really a guide to us. Next to Ioana, there's Christopher Mierbach, who is our AI engineer. So he's the person who does the work on the ground together with Christian. Christian, you may see you somewhere in fourth row, maybe also you stand up quickly. So there's Christian, and these two guys are working with the Zero Project on implementing the artificial intelligence tools. And the person with the smartphone with his hand, you may have come upon him already in this past conferences. This is Dan. He's representing Enable India. They have related but different projects on using AI, and he will then not only hear the story of the Zero Project, but also of another a friend organization where we also understand and talk to each other constantly so that you get a different approach and a different angle as well. So this is what we're here, what we want to do together for you and with you. And with this, I would like the technicians to start my presentation. So what is the Zero Project AI assistant, and there are other models as well, but let's start with this one. What you see here is, if you can't see it, I will explain it to you. The first model that we worked on and that we finished, the name was called Zero Project AI Assistant. It's still a working title, and what you see here, you cannot use as you could use ChatGPT or whatever, Claude or Google Gemini, but you can use it in the booth outside and you can test it there. But what is it? If you can't see it, it has the look and feel of ChatGPT or all these other chat bots that exist, but it's also using the technology of ChatGPT, but what type of data is this? And this is the crucial difference and this is what I would like to focus on first. the Zero Project has an enormous trove of data. So you may ask, what type of data does the Zero Project have? Now, this is a conference, and this is a research project, and yeah, we do some publication. Where's the data? No? When it comes to artificial intelligence, data, it's our understanding, and maybe my fellow panelists will contradict me on this, but this is my personal learning on this. You can use different types of data. For us, data is everything that's related to innovation. It's everything that's related to understanding innovations. It's everything that you have to know about the community and the people and the organizations that work with innovations and decision-making on innovations. And we have 10 years of experience and also on data that is related to that. We have awarded 960 innovative solutions and projects in the past 12 years. We have almost 4,000 projects that have been shortlisted and awarded. All of their data, all of the nomination data, all of the summaries, all of the fact sheets, all the presentations they gave at the Zero Project Conference here, all of their recorded audio and video presentations, as we are doing here, we are recorded, and this can be used as data. It's digitalized, there's audio content, there's video content, there's PowerPoint content, PDF content, and this is all part of the data that we're using. So maybe not tomorrow, but maybe in a month's time, if you type into this assistant, how do you start your own Zero Project, your own assistant, and using Zero Project as example, you might get this session as data, and you might want then to have a recording, see the recording of this session. So this is basically how this works and what data we are using. It's of course not as simple. It's not that you drop this everything into Dropbox and then it works. And this needs a lot of planning and a lot of efforts. And actually, this journey is for us is already 2 years. So this, even if you can see, you can't read it. But to explain what you see here is again very similar to ChatGPT. You type in a question and you're getting an answer. So it's a chat. Question, answer, the AI person call it prompt and answer. And what we built in addition here is you immediately get the source of this answer that you're getting. And this is so important because everyone working with artificial intelligence knows the term hallucinate, and our system usually does not hallucinate, and to completely avoid this, you immediately get the source. And then they see where it took the data from, and then you can immediately decide, does this make sense or not? Because on the right side, if you click on the source, you see immediately what the source is. So this is another feature that we built in from scratch. It's the source-based way of working with the Zero Project data. This is now a second tool that we have developed and which you can also try out in the artificial intelligence booth just right in front of the main entrance. This is something that is very similar to Google search or Bing search or any other type of browser search that you are familiar with. In this case, you type in keywords or a question, whatever you do with Bing or Google search, and you get resources as you get them when you type in something on Google search. And you get a list of answers as you get on Google, and you can also filter as you can do on Google. You only want to have video content or picture content or file content. And you get a list of these results as you get on Google, and you can click on this and you're immediately at this source. This source, and this is what we find most interesting, can also be video sequences, and this already works in this alpha version of what we're doing. So maybe in a month's time, if you type in the name of this session, you will get a recording of this session when you search for this. And if you type in Ioana Tanase speaking, then you will get this session here when you use the search. So this is the second tool. So the first one is this chat-based assistant, and the second one is the more Google-based search. This is just a glimpse of the vision that we're having with this. So if you look at it, what the Zero Project really has as type of data and what we don't have. It's all on innovations, it's all on discussions, all on presentations of new ideas, of proven concepts, of scaling ideas, but we don't have a lot more. We don't have demographic data, we don't have geography data, we don't have tutorials, we don't have resources, we don't have certification procedures, we don't have learning materials, which you might also want to search and find when you're active in this field. And actually it's built for the Zero Project community and for no one else in this midterm to use. So this is why we are also building in a partnership tool from scratch, where partners are encouraged and also made easy for them to add their data. So just to give you one example, it might be friends from Chile, and this is actually an example that we're preparing. Fundación Descúbreme has an outstanding number of resources in Spanish language. All the reports that they're having, because they're based in Chile, is in Spanish language. The language is not a barrier when it comes to working with these AI tools. Usually, everything that we do is comparatively easy to translate, and everything works in any of the usual languages. But of course, the data is not there, and this is why we added data from the resources of Fundación Descúbreme, so you can also research data that are related to the Spanish-speaking community, and then this data can also be searched and found with the Zero Project Assistant. So this gives you also the vision. We want to enable in the midterm the whole community to work with our AI tool and to give you easy access to this tool, and it supports your work also directly. I don't give you more on this because this is what we will officially present at the Global Disability Summit in Berlin in a month's time. I don't talk about the infobot because this is what Christopher will cover, but I will share this slide with you. No, I don't share the slide with you because it's also about the infobot, so this is all Christopher's job. Just to mention, we also have a very different work on the AI side, which we call the Equitable AI Alliance. This is not an AI implementing project. It's about this very important issue of making AI equal, accessible, and equitable for all of us, for people with disabilities, and an angle that Ioana will also cover in her presentations. We started our own projects to get the voices of this community here into the mainstream discussions where the real decisions on AI are made. So, thank you. This was my presentation. Now I'm over to you, Christopher, and you are adding your point of view from the AI engineer and also focus on the WhatsApp infobot that we have developed. Thank you.
Thank you for having me here, Michael. So did you know that the generative AI use has nearly doubled in a year? Says at least a McKinsey study from last year. So how do you join them? Let's dive into the practical steps to start your AI journey today. But first, a few words about myself. I'm a 35-year-old white male, having a short box beard and short dark hair, graying a little bit early at the sides, but I hope that's fine. I'm wearing a blue suit and a white shirt. And I'm an AI engineer working with the Zero Project for more than a year. And I have an AI agency working mostly with small and medium-sized organizations. Okay, now, good. Let's start with 3 practical steps that you can use when you are a small or medium-sized organization and you are at the beginning of your journey to start with AI. Number 1 is experiment with AI tools. And here I mean that you work or play around with tools like ChatGPT or a text-to-image model, that you just get your hands dirty, yeah? That you work with it and that you understand what works, what does not work, where are the limitations, and so on. And this is something what I believe you should do as a leader, as an owner or decider on yourself. You should not delegate it. You need an understanding of AI. And also what I can recommend is that you use AI not just for low-value tasks like improving an email or writing a LinkedIn post, which at the end doesn't sound really natural, right? So what I think makes really sense to use AI also for high-value tasks. And what I mean with this, specifically, I'm thinking about using AI as your personal thought partner. And how you can do this, it's when you explain, for example, to ChatGPT or some other model, hey, I have this organization, these are my current challenges I'm facing, I would like to achieve this and that. Please give me your perspective and your ideas. I think then you will have really a sparring partner which can give you new ideas. So this is something what I consider as high-value AI. And number 2 is identify a specific challenge. Because yes, it makes sense, and it's notable that you want to do something with AI, but honestly, AI is not for every problem the right solution, right? So first comes always the strategy and then the technology. But on a high level, I think AI can provide to you and your organization value in 3 areas. Number 1 is boosting the personal productivity of yourself or your team members, and it could be done in ways like the previously mentioned AI thought partner, or also writing an email or whatever. Yeah, this is something you can do there. Number 2 is to improve the efficiency of the processes within your organization. This could be something like using AI automations for bookkeeping, or something like chatbot for your customer care, or AI voice solutions. There's a lot of things you can use within your organization. And number 3 is that you innovate your products or services. And when you want to do something within your organization and you don't know where to start, what I can recommend there is that you look for areas where you have bore-outs and burnouts among your employees, because these are often areas where you can create high-impact AI solutions. Okay, let's move on to the 3rd step. It's inventory your existing data, because the data is key. It's the fuel for the AI. And yes, it has to be said that you need digital data. But the good thing is that AI can also help you to digitize your data. There are things which help to extract data from your paper documents and so on. And also the AI don't need really structured data. It can deal with unstructured data. It can deal with images, videos. Michael mentioned it. So all of this is possible. And if you are now still stuck after these 3 points, full understanding. Ask the AI for help. Again, use AI as a thought partner. Explain your situation. Say you would like to do something with AI and say, but I don't know where to start. And then a small hint, when you then also use an interview technique, that means that you ask the AI, hey, please ask me up to 5 questions, 1 at a time, until you have a better understanding of my situation, and then give me a response. I promise you, you will be amazed about the better response, because in that way, when the AI is interviewing you first, it gets a better understanding, better context of you, and it's giving you then a response. Good, moving from theory to praxis, I have here a real-world example. It's a ZeroCon 25 infobot. It's an event FHQ helper. This was specifically built for this conference. And at the end, it provides info on agenda, speaker, logistics, or also questions like, where and when can I grab my sandwich today? Now, all of this will be answered by this chatbot. And you can try it by scanning this QR code, which is there on the slide, with your mobile phone. Then the WhatsApp will open. Or you can also visit the AI booth, which Michael already mentioned, in front of the M1 conference room. And technically, it's an AI agent with a knowledge base on WhatsApp. And you can send text messages, you can send voice, you can send even images. So it can handle all of these things. And it has a knowledge base which is powered by existing conference data. That means there is the agenda, the FHQ from the conference page. There are web links to press releases. All of this is, let's say, pushed to the AI. And important to say there was no need to train the AI. It was just to make these things accessible for the AI. So there was no need for new data creation. We just used what's already there. And what's the good part is it was just built in roughly 3 to 4 weeks. And this included everything, the conception, designing, testing, optimization, all of this. And this was achieved by leveraging already existing platform solutions and cloud AI. So as mentioned, we are using their WhatsApp as a communication interface. So WhatsApp is, I think, has a quite good adoption. Nearly everybody knows it and use it. And also in terms of accessibility, it's quite okay. So there was no need to create something new from scratch. Therefore, we were able to be much quicker with this. And we use this also at other things in this complete technology. So my approach there, what I also like is to use existing resources, and I'm always explaining this a little bit like playing around with Lego bricks. Yeah, you know, you just need to find the right Lego bricks and then put them together and build something new, valuable, without the need to make everything from scratch. So my key takeaway is here, there is no need for big budgets, there's no need for big teams. You can create impactful AI. You just need to start small, be agile, changing your approach on the way, learning, but importantly, that you create as fast as possible some first, let's say, real-world AI solution. And at the end, I would also like to talk just briefly about responsible AI, because Ioana will also cover this topic in much more detail, and she's much more into this topic than me. But just here are 3 pragmatic recommendations from my side. Number 1 is follow the EU AI Act. This is a new emerging global standard, and therefore we all need to consider it. But the good thing is the requirements apply gradually over time. So not everything is into force at the moment. Since beginning of February this year, there are just 2 things. It's bans on certain AI systems and the requirement for AI literacy. That means AI skills. This is directly linked to my second recommendation, and this is avoid prohibited AI applications. That means steer clear of everything what is related to emotion recognition, or social scoring, or manipulation of people. Okay, just don't do it, and start with lower risk applications. So if possible, also avoid high-risk AI. These are things which are falling into the area of human resources or security-relevant things like transportation or, I don't know, AI in elevators or something like this. This is high-risk AI applications. Sure, you can do this, but you should just start with it when you have a clear, let's say, strategy for it, a clear use case, because then I would recommend that you get some consultancy that helps you with these applications so that you can build everything in compliance. And recommendation number 3 is to get this AI literacy, which is required. I recommend that you provide an internal, ideally data privacy chatbot solution like an ChatGPT, so that you and your team members can get more experience with it. And then when you also draft an internal AI guideline where you just state what are must-not-dos, I think then you have a good starting point at least. So, and a last bonus, when you're still unsure about your compliance and you don't know what's with your AI idea, I can recommend the so-called EU AI Act compliance checker. This is a small handy tool where you can type in your idea and so on, and it gives you a first assessment in which category your idea probably will fall and what could be next steps. So just Google for the EU AI Act compliance checker, and it will be at one of the first results. Thank you.
Thank you, Christopher. And without any interruption, there are a lot of questions I have, but before I'm doing this, let's move over to Ioana Tanase from Microsoft. We all know that Microsoft is one of the main drivers of artificial intelligence, and with Ioana also having an experience not only with us, but with other disability-related AI projects. She puts everything that you have heard so far into context.
Thank you so much, Michael, and thank you, everyone. I'm Ioana. I'm part of the AI and accessibility team here at Microsoft, and I half joke, but it's half reality that my job is to scream at AI systems to make sure that they're actually inclusive of people with disabilities and not only. So we heard about the UA Act, and I want to preface with I'm not a lawyer, and this is not legal advice, but I think it's really important to be aware of what is the legislation climate at the moment. And while we're going to talk about the UA Act, there is AI legislation coming up across the world, or there's legislation that has been introduced across the world. Example being Japan, you know, and at the same time, you might say, wait, but there's also deregulation. Yes. So we are living in a state of fluctuating policy, let's say, which is why it's really important to have really robust principles and really robust things in place when you're developing AI systems. But as we are in Europe, and we talked about the project that Zero has developed, let's talk a little bit about the UA Act, because this was kind of the fear, anxiety-inducing elephant in the room a year ago, and actually the policy is really meant to put consumers and protect them, which is a very, very positive thing that I think we can all agree on. So the UA Act basically, and I'm going to oversimplify, but it breaks AI systems based on the risk category. And as mentioned, there's a very high-risk category, or actually let me rephrase that. There's a prohibited category where we say, you know what, AI should not be used in this context. And things like social scoring or, you know, an AI system doing that or monitoring, I think it's okay that that's prohibited. There's things in there that should not happen using AI. Then there are high-risk categories. And it's not to say that those categories shouldn't happen, but they should happen with really due diligence, testing, measuring, and making sure that they're working in a way where they're not excluding people and they're not creating further gaps. And you mentioned HR and recruitment. I know there was a session the other day that talked about AI systems in recruitment as well, and making sure that people with disabilities are not left behind. Because we know when the algorithm is wrong, that can absolutely happen. So having regulation that talks about if you're using that type of system, this is what you need to do to ensure that it's not discriminating people, it's a very, very positive thing. So we need to be aware of the context that we operate in, and this is something that we try to do at Microsoft. We try to look at the global landscape and really unify what are the legal requirements that are in place across the world. And then we add our own spin to it, and I'll come back to this in a second. But if I were to go back 2 years ago, when we first started developing our own, let's say, generative AI-based products, it's been a journey, and it's been a journey in which we have learned a great, great deal. And really it started with the WCAG standards. And on one side was, let's make sure that these products are accessible. And we learned a lot of things by trial and error. And we learned that you have to actually go one step further from the WCAG standards and really think of your usability comprehensively. And I'll give you a few examples of things that we've done and failed at and learned from and improved. In the early days of Copilot, so our own technology, we were working with our team in terms of how does that work for a screen reader user. And what we found, there was this black box where the system was thinking that was displayed on the screen for a sighted user, but there was no prompt or there was no cue for somebody who was blind. So we said, ugh, that's bad, because if this takes 10 seconds to think about it, as a sighted user, I have access to that information. Somebody who's blind does not. So we introduced audio cues. And we had to really work with the community to figure out what is the right timing for those cues, because we overdid it, and they were too often, and they were annoying. So we had to pivot back and say, right, 5 seconds is where it's at. Then we had to really be very, very careful about tabbing and how focus can shift for somebody who's a screen reader user as well. And we saw situations where all the focus was stolen and somebody who was using a screen reader was suddenly lost in the technology. And obviously that wasn't a fantastic experience either. So the way we think about focus and prompts and how that experience evolved has also changed. Then as technology evolved, we also learned that where possible, having multiple input forms and multiple output forms also helps. You know, voice access being one example. I'm dyslexic. I use voice input all the time. So for my colleagues who have a mobility disability, and we're testing this in the early days, massively important as well. And last but not least, plain language. And this is a personal story. I was part of the team who was working on testing Word Copilot in the very early days, even before we released it to the public. And there was this suggested kind of Q prompt, whatever you want to call it, and he said, do you want to start a blueprint? And I paused. And I said, huh? So I reached out to the team and said, what does that mean? Like, my document is not construction related. I'm really confused. And they meant, oh, what that means is like, do you want to start a draft? And I said, why don't we call it that? Because having things that are easy to understand for the user make the technology more approachable. So one of the things that we tried, I'm not saying we're getting it perfect all the time, but one of the things that we tried is to really think about how do we introduce plain language in the instructions and in the technology itself. So I'm very happy that now it's called a draft and not a blueprint. But as we started this journey, there was this new sort of element in the room of traditional accessibility is still there, usability is still there, but we have this new type of challenge, which is the output itself. And how inclusive is that of people with disabilities? And we know that disability representation is not fantastic in media and press. We know that when it exists, it doesn't necessarily portray us the way we want to be portrayed. So we said we have work to do to make sure that this output is representative of this community in ways that feel valid for the community. And this is where my role bluntly has changed tremendously in the last 18 months. And I work with our engineering teams to make sure that when they are considering AI models and generative AI models, we make sure that disability is part of the focus, not just from a pure accessibility perspective. And I'm using air quotes when saying that. And I do apologize, this slide is going to be a little bit technical, but I'll demystify it. We talked about data. When we talked about the importance of data, and a lot of the conversation when it has to AI has to do with data, and that's okay. But I want to give you some tools, both as technology makers and consumers, to know that there is a lot more that happens from data to what you get. And I think it's important to be aware of that journey. So the way that we think of what we call mitigations, aka how do we ensure that this model or this system or this tool does what it needs to do at Microsoft is kind of a box within a box within a box. And at the center, the very box is the model. So what am I using? Am I using something like Claude? Am I using something like OpenAI 4.5 or whatever it is? It's really important to choose the right model for the right task. And there's this tendency of people thinking like, the newest model with all the bells and whistles is the best one. No. The reality is it will depend based on your use case. So you have to be really aware of what model am I using and what data has it been trained on, right? And then on top of that, we have what we call a safety system. And in very basic terms, it's dual purpose. One, it has what we call filters. And one example of filter is hate speech. So example, we make sure that hate speech is right down to zero when releasing a product, and that no slurs to disability or other types of identity are part of that product. So that is one example. The other example of what happens at that layer are things like block list. So block list is basically a list of words that you never, 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 never want to have in your product. And as you can imagine, there's things that go into there from an ableist terms perspective, from a disability slur perspective. So we have a list of words that are just banned, and the model can never replicate or produce. That's the second box. The third box is what we call grounding and system messaging. I apologize, technology people just use terms that are too complicated, but grounding means this is where it's pulling data from. This is what it is referring to. So in Michael's example, the Zero Project data, that's the grounding. That's where the secret sauce is, right? The model has never had access to that data. This is where it's learning from, and this is what's actually reasoning upon. And that's really important. Because again, if that data is wrong or that data has not been cleared up, you will get really, really bad answers. So it's a critical stage. But we also have what we call the system message, and this is something that I do across not just disability, but other types of harms. And this is It's basically the instruction of the system. You're telling it what it is, you're telling it what it should do, and equally important, you're telling it what it should never do. So for example, on a disability use case, I would make sure that it says you must use respectful language, or you must ensure that people with disabilities are not treated with pity. And those are all based on testing we've done and learned that those things can happen. And then the last box, which is the user experience. So things like not just accessibility of the tool itself, but things like, does the user know that they're interacting with the AI system as opposed to a human? Really, really important to have all those things in place. So the way that we think of disability inclusion has reshaped because of this. We have the traditional accessibility model on one side, but we absolutely have this new element in the room that we're still learning from, quite bluntly. That's me.
Thank you. Thank you, Joanna, for this really brief and concise, giving us the full context of in which this whole work is embedded. Before I hand over to Dan, let me try to summarize a few items that have been touched, and I ask Joanna and Christopher also to comment if something is missing or I'm missing the point. We talked about, or Christopher said about, it has to be on the right level within the organization that the decisions are made. I completely agree. So I'm the CEO of the Zero Project, and it's also my personal project, and I think this is also why it works. It doesn't mean that it's always been the CEO, but it's also my personal area of interest, and I'm knowing basically everything, all the departments, all the people, what they're working on, all the possible angles, all the possible partnerships. So this is definitely something that's important within the constellation, within the organization. You talked about costs, Christopher. I would not agree 100% that it comes really cheaply, but it might not be as costly as you might imagine. We don't talk about millions. So with a small project, I think we're talking about altogether a low 5-digit euro number. This is something, also looking at the context that Joanna gave us, considering these 4 levels, getting a complete understanding, maybe getting in legal expertise. So we're talking maybe about such a figure. Hope you agree with that. I'm not talking about the costs, the hourly costs of the AI engineers, which is also a substantial factor. We talked about data, what type of data is data in the sense that it can be used by artificial intelligence. Think about it in a broader way, and in the final round I would also dive a little more into this when also Dan had his presentation, because they're using a very different type of data. Christopher and Joanna gave us also context on the legal side of AI regulations. There are also property rights, there are picture, copyright, source rights, so there's a lot to consider. But we don't want to frighten you off. We have other sessions here as well that actually talk about all the pitfalls, dangers, challenges and limitations. It's extremely important, but this session is about encouraging you to take these first steps, because AI is here to stay, and you should embrace this idea, or at least make an informed decision why not to do it. This is what this session is for. We are not here to ignore the challenges and pitfalls. It's just a different type of session here. All the safety systems are extremely important. So I don't know if you realize this, we are using MS Teams for the captioning here. So this is artificial intelligence at work. And some presenter used the word, I was really pissed off. And when you say pissed off, you see the stars here. So this is what Joanna meant when some things definitely should not be used in artificial intelligence. I could try even worse words, but I think you get the message. Yeah, accessibility is an overarching, most important feature. One of the beauties of these tools, of these large language models that we're talking about here, is some of them really come with the system and cost basically nothing. So language translation is there. You don't have to translate anything anymore if you're talking about the most important languages where there's enough data in the AI. also simplifying language in a very easy way, in a rudimentary version, is also easy. You simply have to add to the prompt, explain this in a way that a 12-year-old would understand, and you get reasonable results. Of course, we all know that's not easy language, but some features are really there. It was also mentioned audio input, audio output, screen reader ability comes with the browser or with WhatsApp. So there's really a lot that can be used automatically that don't come with reasonable or substantial costs. So, anything you want to add at this stage, Christopher and Joanna, that Good. I got wrong? Okay.
Fine.
Align.
Okay. Align. Thank you very much. Over to you, Dan, and presenting now the dish model and everything that Enable India is working on related to AI.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you to all, and good morning to all of you. So, just imagine we are searching in something and we are in a hurry. We need a solution immediately and we are unable to get it. This thought will continuously be in your mind during next 8 minutes. That's the time that I have for the presentation. So everything has a beginning, as everything has an end, and everything has to continue. In that scenario, our journey started with a project called Project Discovery. Project Discovery is a program which works for collecting grassroots innovation from rural parts of India. Thereafter, Michael quite humbly and quite thankfully agreed that we can have it in an international framework in Project Discovery Awards, and with the collaboration partnership of Zero Project, we are collecting grassroots innovation from 42 countries. So what happens after that? So what? We realized that there is a problem statement, and that emerged from the community. Community came and told that what would you do after you collect all this data, all these videos, solution videos. There was a question that we wanted to answer, but we didn't have an answer. So our answer was that, okay, we'll figure out to upload in the YouTube channel. There are thousands of YouTube channels on assistive solution. What would be special about it? We realized that there are thousands of assistive solutions channels, and people continuously search for something, and specifically the answer of specific needs is not getting obtained. Thereafter, we came up with a design of Disabilities Innovative Solutions Hub. In this AI platform, what we have done is that we try to collect all kinds of assistive solution data, not only solution videos, but all kinds of assistive solutions data in any form, structured or non-structured, and we put it in it. And what happens is that as we don't collect randomly from the web, we always approach the partner to share their link with us. It is always an authentic data that we are providing about assistive solution. So then what happens? We made some untold or unsaid policies. We will not use, number one, any unpublished data. It has to be for everybody. It has to cater to the grassroots, the last mile. It has to make impact to the people rather than giving numbers to us. Therefore, we connected with all kind of best of the AI APIs. We used Microsoft, we used Google, we used many other APIs to make this platform. And then, what happens then? At that point of time, one of our partners, whom we were intending to collect some data, asked that what would happen if I share my data to you and also I want to use this for my personal search. Because as you can see, we are collecting the data, providing the search, and having the output. The same thing may be needed for other organizations. We had no intent, actually, that we will make it a product. But one of our sharing partners told that, I want to use it. Why don't you make it a product? So we sat in the meeting room, decided, okay, if community is asking for the SIG data or the software to be made, and then we can make it, what's the problem in there? We can surely make it for the community as a whole who can be benefited with a ready-made product. Many of organizations will have the aspiration to use artificial intelligence for their huge data sources, internally and externally. They may not have what is needed, but we can help that, we can support that, we can take, because we are already using it. So then today, at this point, what I'm going to unveil is the software which we have made in the opposite way. Opposite way means that we made the community program first, then we made the platform, then with the platform came the requirement of a software which we made. So Includes AI is the name of the software that we have made, which would help people to get the opportunity to search. These are the features of Includes AI, as you can see. To overcome the language barrier or the literacy barrier, we are giving an option to the people of getting audio in and audio out with 170 languages, translation, interpretation, capturing the data in the back end, whatever the problem statements are happening, and we are taking the work forward in that way. So this is something that is presented to you, for you, from you, and requested by you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dan, for this presentation, and I also know how hard you and your team are working on this to make this happen. It's really a wonderful approach, and we're really looking forward to working together on this with you in the future. Let us use these final 3-4 minutes, I suggest, to give you some ideas on what type of data you might bring to use, because I think this is still a missing link, and maybe you have some ideas that I thought, well, I never thought of that. No? So I told you already about our data. that we are using, which is basically research, a call for nomination data. Dan is using, or the baseline was a video competition where they're using and analyzing videos that have been submitted and awarded in their call. I also know a project that's really interesting where they use data of course, anonymized data of wheelchair users and the real way that they're taking in a city, so like Google Maps, where you can see where they're actually using, so then you also can identify the obstacles in the way, because wheelchairs are obviously taking detours. So this is an interesting one, and an obvious one is if you have a lot of training materials, tutorials, you can talk to your background, to your expertise, to your knowledge bank and databases that you have in a really easy way. You can easily access information that is embedded in reports, demographic data, so to have this conversation and easy access to data and training material is also an obvious use case. But Joanna, you have access to a lot more than I have.
I doubt that, but I can share another one because we are the UN. We have launched a project through the Unstereotypical Alliance that the UN has, and it's a project where we want local NGOs and organizations to be empowered to collect images that are representative of the disability community. The people obviously are going to be paid for the images, and those images, end goal is to have them open source so that anybody who wants to build a model that produces images that are representative of the disability experience can do so. It's very much at the pilot stage. It's going to start with 2 types of disability, blindness and dwarfism. And we hope that the learnings can go into a package that anybody can use afterwards in order to replicate and make sure that as they're building their own products as well, they can do this and can use the existing data as well.
Yeah, so thank you for pointing out this. Wasn't maybe not mentioned broadly enough. Talking to pictures, getting picture descriptions, getting the prompts right so that this picture also work for this community. This is also comparatively easy to other tasks. Then, if you want to have an intervention, then yes, right now. Yeah, briefly. Yeah.
I need just 15 seconds. I missed out a very important, very important point because we share our thoughts and knowledge to each other. Zero Project and Enable India share knowledge to each other so that we can make the system more innovative, more productive, and more for the people. And serving the people is a main intent of Zero Project and Enable India collaboration. Thank you.
Christopher, anything that comes to your mind that you would encourage people to think about when it comes to what type of data they might be interested in using?
Honestly, there are a lot of things coming to my mind, but I'm not sure if we can cover it now in a short time.
Thank you for this. Okay, so I think we did a ride throughout this world of how to build your own AI. I hope we got you interested. I hope we gave you some clues on how to start and why and where. And with this, please close the session with a warm applause to my fellow panelists.